Okay, we are live. Welcome to this corrected version of session number 2. I didn't make a pre-announcement for this. I just wanted to go live spontaneously, choose the exact time that I wanted to go live whenever I felt like. So, here we are. For those of you who watched session 2 last Monday, you knew that the audio cut out 3 times, like in major ways. So super big apologies about that. I posted a little comment saying that I would redo it this weekend. So here we are on Sunday, and I'm going to be going live as well tomorrow. So I get to see you, you get to see me, two days in a row. And most of you are watching on the replays, which I'm super duper appreciative of. And let's just get into this. So, welcome to session 2, where we're going to be talking about making 2024 your most prolific year ever. And I really want to focus on this word, prolific, specifically its form as a noun, prolificity. Say that 10 times fast. So prolificity. So my mission to bring it back. And we're just going to talk about it specifically in relationship to this other word, productivity, which is much more popular in our culture. So in productivity, we really focus on the quality of the work session specifically, whereas in prolificity, the focus is on works of art and the quality of that artwork. In productivity, we focus on tasks, checking things off on our to-do list, and when we have, we're very we have a lot of tasks and we check them all off, we say we're very productive. Whereas in prolificity, it's much more about creating a body of work over the course of your life that you can look back on in your portfolio and feel really proud of. I think that's particularly important for us as artists and creatives. Like for example, Picasso, who created thousands of works of art in so many different mediums and forms, and we say now, he's one of the most prolific artists that we know of on record. And then lastly, in productivity, we focus on efficiency, whereas in prolificity, the focus is on beauty and specifically the expression of that beauty. And notice that there's a theme here in productivity and prolificity. The commonality is quantity of quality, because the good thing is that productivity isn't purely just about quantity. I think if it were, then it wouldn't be a productive work session, for example. You also want to have a high quality work session. But I think that in prolificity, there's a bigger emphasis on the elements of quality, and a much bigger element on that sense of artistic integrity and maintaining that creative focus. So this is this is what the movement of creative warriors is all about. So if you're here joining me live or watching the replay, then join me in bringing prolificity back. Okay, so last week we focused on our why, specifically the review and the life purpose, and we can check that off. But I did feel like I left you guys hanging a little bit, so I wanted to just kind of show you how the last part of that exercise ended up for me, just so you have an actual real life example. So we, just as a refresher, went through the Ikigai exercises of these 4 questions, right? What I love, what I'm good at, what the world needs, and what I can get paid for. Oh, let me step over here so you can actually see me. And what I did after writing through all of this is I went through with various different colors of my highlighters here. And you can see I love my writing tools, so I have all these different colors of highlighters. And I just used a different color for each section, and then I transferred the keywords that I found onto the appropriate part of the Ikigai flower, or what I like to call the Ikigai flower. And you see music here, you see writing there. This is just according to what I feel is most appropriate for me. And these colors just help me to reconnect the 2 sections to each other a little bit more. But the most important part is, of course, what falls in the center. So I'm going to lift this up so you can see a little bit better. But for me, what I ended up with was here presentations, inspiring creative expression, and inspiring and teaching. There's that word again, prolificity. Okay, so the really, if you wanted to get like super duper extra credit, you would do the Simon Sinek thing and I would write this into some sort of like sentence or statement that I could take with me. But I have found that Ikigai just evolves constantly, really. And I might have a different Ikigai next month, right? Like it might evolve a little bit more. So I really just like to kind of revisit this exercise every few months, few months or so, and just see where I stand. So it's really interesting for me to see how things have changed and evolved for me. So I hope this example is helpful for you. So let's go back to what we're focusing on today, which is your what. And specifically, I want you to take a look at the character on screen right now. This is you. I want you to imagine that this is yourself and you're looking out onto the vista of your dream. And it's so important to not just dream, right? Like, I think as creatives, we love dreaming. We love talking about dreams. We love stepping into the imagination in our minds, but how often do we actually write them down? And I think the act of writing them down is so powerful because it's one huge step closer to actually making them come true. I really, truly, truly not believe this, but not just believe this, but have actually lived it. So I want to show you some examples from my own life that are real world that have actually come true over the past few years as I've been doing this kind of exercise. So, in August of 2022, I wrote down these two different statements, right? One is kind of broad, where it says, my audience is growing authentically and organically. And then the second one here is pretty specific, where it says 5 sales of the playbook, my product, a month. And when you write down your dreams, you want to have, you can do more broad, you can do more specific, but I find it's helpful to have a mixture of the two. And when you are writing something down specific, there's a caveat here in the sense that, oh, actually, I forgot to mention, by the way, that figure of 5 sales a month actually ended up doubling over the past 6 months or so. So, this is why writing your dreams down can be so magical. But back to the specificity caveats. When you write down something that's specific, you kind of want to not hold on to it too tightly. So I wrote down here in November 2020, a 4-wheel drive Mini Cooper, right? Very specific. Actually, what ended up happening was I ended up getting a Toyota Sequoia instead. And it's important example that I want to bring forward because even though originally I was just in love with this idea of a Cooper, which I had always wanted for many, many years, I manifested something better because later in August 2023, I really wanted to get more serious about van life, or at least halftime van life, which is kind of where I've settled. And I wrote down here having it as a little piece of mobile real estate, and that the Sequoia worked out much, much, much better for that. And I've taken it on many road trips and many adventures as a result of that. And I'm in the midst of converting it into more of a proper kind of van life vehicle. So, and then the last thing to keep in mind is, and this is a particularly important point for creatives and artists, is not just to focus on the outcomes, but also your process, your creative process, right? So I wrote down here, I'm getting faster and more efficient across all aspects of my video workflow, my YouTube workflow. So maybe you're a dancer, for example, and you want to become more graceful in a specific movement that you have, or you're a writer and you want to actually sit down and enjoy, for example, the rough draft process or the brainstorming process, which might be excruciating for you right now, right? So just think about those types of things in terms of your creative process specifically, and think about, how is it that you want to improve them. And then last week we spent some time going through. Hold on one second. I thought I heard my phone ringing. So your past 4 seasons were, sorry, let me gather my train of thought here. So last session, in session 1, we spent some time reviewing your 2023 through your past 4 seasons. And today we're going to be refreshing that imagery, that vision, and looking into your next 4 seasons. And we're going to be using a very cutting edge technology called time travel via the most amazing tool available to us, better than any AR or VR expensive headset, your imagination. Okay? So, and I'm being serious about this. I know you're probably laughing on the other side of the camera here, but this actually works. I'm gonna guide you through this. Okay? So, I want you to take a moment to just close your eyes. And in fact, I'm going to fade myself out here, so that you really do focus on on closing your eyes. Okay? So that you just focus on my voice. And we're going to start with a little bit of breath work. So just bring your attention to your belly and your chest, where the majority of your breath takes place. And just bring more consciousness and awareness to the pace of your breathing. And then take a deep breath in. And you're going to hold it at the top. And then release. And then hold it at the bottom. Take a deep breath in. Release it. And we'll take another last deep breath in. And release. Just feel yourself, your awareness, your body become present in this moment together with me. And I want you to drop the floor beneath you. Let the ceiling above you just dissolve, as well as the walls around you. And imagine yourself floating in this space of no space. And we'll take a deep breath in and release. And then far off in the distance, you see this tiny little dot. And that dot is moving ever so slowly, closer and closer towards you, hovering. And this dot is starting to take form, starting to take shape. And as it does, you notice that it's a portal of sorts, a door. And the door opens, and as you step through it, you see that this is a portal into the next 3 months of your life, specifically the season of your winter, representing your January of 2024, this month, next month, February 2024, and March 2024. And just let the music guide you and take you and support you in experiencing what this door is revealing to you in terms of the next 3 months of your life. Take note of how you feel through this and what you're seeing as well. What is being shown to you? And then just take a deep breath in. Release. And this time, the portal is closing and a new one is opening, representing your spring of 2024. And just see what April, May, and June have in hold for you. What do you see coming forth? And what do you feel as you're seeing what you're seeing? Just take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, we're going to release this portal of the spring. And allow the portal of your summer of 2024 to come forth and reveal itself to you. In this case, your July of 2024, your August, and your September of 2024. Where are you now in the world? Where are you now in your life? Just take a moment to let the music guide you through this vision. Take a deep breath in. Release that. Say goodbye to our summer and move into your fall in the months of October of 2024, November of 2024, and ending with your December 2024. What do these 3 months have in store, have in hold for you? Let them reveal themselves to you, and the music take you on a journey. And then just take a deep breath in. Release. Thank you for joining me on this amazing trip into your future. And take a moment to just kind of take all of that in right now. And we'll close by taking 3 deep breaths in and out together. So deep breath in. Hold it at the top. Release. Hold that at the bottom. Breathe back in. Hold. Release. Hold. Last one in. Hold it. And big release. Okay. So that was your journey of 2024. I hope you enjoyed that, had some fun at least. We're going now to take what you saw, what you experienced, what you felt, and we're going to split that out into two different sections in your either in your playbook or your notebook, right? So there are two parts of this: the preview and the dream. In the first part, it's really going to be about listing the external events of what you saw happening. And then the second part will be about diving deeper into the internal story of that dream, of how you were perceiving that experience of those events, right? So I want you to grab your notebook or your playbook. If you've got a playbook, then likely you have a spread like this open, available. If you're have a fresh new copy and you followed along with me through from session one, then page 24 should be available. If not, you can find anything that's open or use one of the daily spreads. Now, at the top of whatever you've got available, just write down 2024 preview. You're gonna need to cross out monthly dream and just write this down instead if you've got a playbook, and then take note of today's date as well. I recognize today's the 14th, not the 8th, but again, this is a redo. And just like last time, we're gonna split this out into 4 quadrants, one for each season again, but this time make sure to. Oh, Sophie says a great meditation. Thank you, Sophie. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, I love leading meditation, so thank you for following along with me, Sophie. And okay, so back to the spread. So write down the names of the seasons on the sides this time, because at the top we're going to need to make room for the names of the months, and those are just really just as kind of reminders. Okay, so I want to show you how this exercise worked out for me. This is what it started out as, right? So I've got the names of the months at the top. I have, events listed out, life events. Like, for example, in June, I am really looking forward to, for example, my best friend moving to Austin, where I live, and that's likely happening in June sometime. And then you see in July in the upper on page 45, I'm turning 41. So just stuff like that, like list events out. Those are important, but keep in mind that this is a preview. It's not a one-for-one calendar. It's not a Gantt chart. Thank God for that. It's not a project plan. This is not about precision. It's just about a preview. So other things that you can write down are just general themes. Like, for example, here in Texas where I live, it's camping season in the fall. So I just wanted to make note of that because that's something that I'm really, really looking forward to. And then in my spring, I wrote down getting a handle on email marketing. That's a desire that I've been having for a number of years now, actually. And this is something that I really want to wrangle in my 2024. And just a last point, timing, just keep it general. It doesn't have to be, again, precise. So I wrote down like a northern road trip. I'm looking for, it's really hot where I live in the summer, so I want to kind of go north for at least a month, and I don't know which month it's going to be exactly yet, so that's where kind of general timing comes in. And then Sophie says that she's in the southern hemisphere. Yes, I remember you're in Australia, so the seasons are the opposite for you. Yes, of course. So you'll probably start with your summer, right? That's your first season. And we will take about 4 minutes to do this. I'm going to fade myself out, give you some music to follow along to, and I'm going to leave up this visual so you have something to reference as an example. Okay, so I'll mute myself as well and just have fun with this exercise. right, time's up as it says in the timer. I hope you had fun there, and put in the comments below any highlights that you want to share with YouTube, with the public. You don't have to if you don't want to, of course. Um, I recognize that can be a vulnerable process for some of us, and that's entirely fine. Okay, so looking at the story of your life for the next year for 2024, we have our external, we have our internal, and the external covers a list of events. It's a list of plans. That's what we just did. But it's also important to, go within. And I have found the best way to do that is by writing out statements of prose, like full sentences, right? And this covers how exactly it is that you're perceiving and you're feeling in terms of the list of events and plans that you just wrote down. Because I think oftentimes in a lot, especially in the productivity world, right? Again, that dichotomy between productivity and prolificity is that in the productivity world, it's just like, okay, manifest, manifest, do, output, 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 and let's just list exactly how I want my year to fucking go. But we don't take time to step into the vision of that dream and really think about, like, okay, how is it that I want to be feeling for my next year, for my next 12 months? And that's where the internal part comes in. So it's about taking let me do it from the opposite. So it's taking the stuff from this side, from your external, and applying that to your internal. Okay, so I want you to turn the page in your notebook to a new blank spread wherever you find it. And this time we're going to write down 2024 dream at the top. And again, today's date. And as you're writing down your internal story, there are two things to keep in mind. The first is to write in present tense. Using I am statements is really great. So I am hiking down the path to the entrance of Yosemite National Park, right? And then the second part is to note how you're feeling. And as I'm walking down the path, the sun is shining on my skin, and I feel the breeze, and there is just such a sense of connection to nature that I have been craving my whole life. And, I'm dramatizing it on purpose. I recognize that sometimes I get criticized for being too dramatic. But make this as epic as you want to be, as you need to be. The more epic, as far as I'm concerned, the better, because you really want to step into that. And who gives a fuck, right? Like, this is just for you. You're not going to share this with anybody else unless you want to, unless you want that kind of public accountability. And I want to share with you one of the things that is coming forth for me, right? So I wrote down as an example, so you see, right? I see myself riding a mountain bike modded Brompton. That is an external event. That's the thing that is manifesting, that's happening. And I feel a sense of endless freedom and adventure. And this is an example of the internal story that I'm telling. And by the way, this is what a mountain bike modded Brompton looks like. And doesn't that just give you a sense of freedom and adventure? Okay, but that's enough about me. We're going to make this about you. So we're going to take another 4 minutes to do this so that you can write down basically everything that you saw from your trip to the future. Use your preview as the jumping off point. That's why we did that first, to serve as kind of prompts for yourself to guide you through, writing down an entire dream for yourself. I recognize that 4 minutes is not a whole lot of time for this kind of an exercise, though. When I did this, it took me, honestly, about a half hour or so. But, in the grand scheme of things, a half hour is actually not that long. So if you need more time, just write down whatever you can within the 4 minutes that we have here. If you're watching the replay, you can go back in time and replay the song over and over and over again, or you can just pause and play whatever music that you want. Okay, so again, I'm going to fade myself out and give you 4 minutes to yourself and have fun. By the end of this exercise, your spread should look something like mine at the very bottom as a reference. Okay? I will see you in 4 minutes. there's a little bit of music left over there, but time should be up. So just sort of pause wherever you are right now. I can't imagine that you have filled up the entire thing at this point, and that's totally fine. Like I said, you can always revisit and continue that. I highly encourage that. And I do want to kind of bring to the forefront. Sophie just said, "My dream painting trip to Ireland and Scotland in July, August is my biggest highlight. Already taking the steps to get there." That's amazing, Sophie. I'm super excited for you. I lived in Scotland for 2 years, so I can totally imagine. And Scotland is absolutely stunning in the summer. You just got to watch out for the midges. So uh, just bring some bug repellent. Okay, so thank you, Sophie, for sharing your highlights. This is why it's so important. Like, it's so, whatever highlights you have, share them. If you're watching the replay, just share it in the comments below, and we will hold you accountable. I'm going to be live streaming as much as I possibly can throughout the year. This year, that's one of my kind of intentions, is to live stream at least once a month. And I just said that live, so I'm going to be holding beholden to that now. So we will be checking in with you, Sophie, in the summer. Hopefully, you will be in Scotland by then. Okay, so so we spent all this time on this dream, right? And it's big. We love to dream as creatives. It's one of our strengths. But how do we make that real, right? And for me, I love this phrase: dream big, start small. So this is where we start to take it to the next level, and specifically 3 different levels, right? So I see it as the level of being, the level of having, and lastly, the level of doing. And within each, there's a bit of detail to keep in mind. So being is all about setting an intention about the person that you want to become. The intention is super important because it is essentially your dream summed up into a single statement as best as possible. Of course, it's not going to summarize absolutely everything, but it is taking the most salient, the most powerful, the most recurring kind of theme in your dream and breaking it down into a single sentence of an intention that you can take with you for the rest of your year, and be open to it evolving as well. You don't have to stay static to it. Having is about setting a goal in terms of what would you have if you were to become that person that you set an intention for. And I think this is so critical because oftentimes I just see so many people setting goals kind of willy-nilly, randomly, somewhat mindlessly, and it most often comes from this place of social pressure where it's like, oh, well, I should be doubling my income, or I should be doubling my social media following because that's what I'm supposed to be wanting to do, I guess, But I think if people were really honest with themselves, they would pick different goals. And this is why it's so important to start with a dream, right? That you feel really emotionally connected to. And the last part of this is the dimension of doing. And this is about setting practices. So what would you be doing on a regular basis, continually, if you were the person that you are intending to be, that the person that you saw in your dream today? Okay. So I recognize there's a lot to take in. Today we are ending with just setting the intention, and then next week we'll be doing the dimension of having and doing. So because we want this to be connected to our dream, we're going to be going back to that spread that you just spent time on. And what we're going to be doing is finding statements of being that are very relevant and really stick out to you, very salient. So I want to share some examples with you of how this can work out. So in my dream, I wrote down, I see myself successfully and confidently coaching 3 clients. And then later on, I wrote down, I feel confident about the value that I'm offering to the world. So there's a theme here, I don't know if you noticed, but that recurring word of confidence, confidently. Clearly, there's a theme here that is making itself known. So I, of course, had to take note of that, and I turned that into my intention, which ended up being something like this. I intend to embody rock-solid confidence in the value that I am providing to my creative warriors through the playbook, right? So this is a general theme, like it's pretty universal to embody confidence, whatever that you're offering to the world as a creative. And I just made that a little bit more specific for myself in my case. And I want to share with you another example as an alternate because I recognize, having coached a number of people through this, it can be a little bit tough to wrap your head around. So here's another example. My mission is becoming ever clearer and stronger day by day. So how would this, I can already sort of see, because this is pretty broad and pretty far reaching, okay, this is a good candidate to use as an intention. So that could become something like, I intend to become crystal clear in my mission, or something like, I intend to embody my mission with clarity and strength. Okay, so this is what the intention spread looks like in the playbook on page 32. So if you got a playbook, you can turn to that page and see what that looks like. I'll zoom in on the spread so you can see a little bit better. And we're going to take about 3 minutes to go through this exercise for you to go through what you have in your dream and find those statements of being, and just focus on writing something down. Play around with a few of them. There's a scratch pad. It's not here, but actually let me go back here. So at the bottom you see the scratch pad. You can play around with it at the bottom, and if you have just a blank notebook, you can just play around with different statements that seem to kind of work for you, and then we'll work through the specifics later on. So I'll take 3 minutes to do that. I'll fade myself out just like we did in the last time, and find those statements of being for yourself. All right. So how did that go for you? I want to kind of share how that ended up for me. So in my dream, there was a big kind of theme of relationships. So I put down here, um, I intend to become socially connected in a way that fills my creative and relational cup. And you can see I played around with a few different versions in my Scratchpad initially. And that is something that, when I read that back, that really does excite me. And so this is the next part that I want you to kind of play around with and think about. So the question here, there's a prompt that says, how excited am I when I read back this intention? And this is important because you want to have an intention that, again, you feel emotionally connected to. If it's something, for example, like here, so actually let me walk through this point by point so you could actually see. So here on the left-hand side at 0%, it's barely, and on the right-hand side, it is very at 100%. And I'm somewhere like at, I don't know, the 85% mark there, maybe 90%. And take a moment to, think about that for yourself. And then the next part here is what I call the ego check. So, how are you being motivated? And this is another spectrum, except this is at the center you have for myself, at the right you have for others, and at the left you have for the glory. Now, no shame in any of these points. Like, it's not, there's no perfect kind of ideal, because for me, this is something that is about connecting to others. I feel like, it is skewed in this direction, but this is also something for myself, right? Like, I put down here, fills my creative and relational cup. So obviously that is self-oriented. So there is an aspect of that for me, for myself here. But an example of something that would be kind of more for the glory, which again is not necessarily a bad thing, would be in the past I wrote something like, I see myself, or I intend to become more confident I intend to be more confident in front of the camera. That was something that I was really kind of intending on working on for many years, which is where I am today. And that obviously has a certain element of glory in it. It's it's about being seen, being heard, and being seen in a way that is well received, right? And so in that case, I put down, it probably was like up until this point in terms of the for the glory section. The danger, though, and this is why it's a good thing to do in ego check, is that if you're so far to the left, then maybe you might want to have a little chat with yourself about becoming a little too egomaniacal and selfish. On the other hand, it's also important not to go so far to this part of the spectrum where you're so heavily invested in being of service to others that you ultimately deplete yourself. This is something that I went through last year, towards the end of the last year. And, oftentimes we forget, right? Like, to take care of our own selves, and so that we fill our own cups to actually be of service to others. And so there's just kind of that danger there, right? So you want to have a healthy balance here, ultimately, is what I'm saying. So that covers the aspect of being. We can check this off, thankfully. And and you have a late joiner, Maria. Hi, welcome. For those of you who are just joining now, I'm actually about to end the live stream, but you can join me actually tomorrow, where we will be going over our dimension of doing as well as our dimension of having. So thank you so much for joining me on this live stream today on Sunday. I decided to do it a little bit earlier in the day just so I could have a little bit more flexibility in terms of working with the light. I recognize that Monday is a little bit of a better time for some people. Sometimes Sunday is a little bit of a better time. So let me know in the comments what day you prefer for future live streams. But yeah, thank you so much. Again, sorry for the audio issues last time. It seems like everything went well this time. And I also have, like, this is my ego check, right? Like, I have this cowlick that I've been trying to resolve, but I just can't seem to tame it. So I just had to roll with it. And yeah, so thank you. I'm going to stop rambling, and thank you all for joining. I will see you tomorrow, if not on the next video that I upload, on the next live stream. Thank you so much, and